All right, tap in with me. Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me. You see the board? Er, 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 er. All right, let's get this thing going. Ladies and gentlemen, theys and thems, ups, down, lefts, rights, everyone that's got a human soul, mind, body, ready to check this thing out. Welcome back to another episode of Dark Wizard's Dungeon. That's what I was gonna say, Dream Chasers Insanity, because I'm so used to just saying it like that, but I realized I might as well just, this is a collective of not just businesses, but content and media and this and that left and right. So let's just put the whole entire thing in a collective and you guys will understand whether it's Cosmic Nomad, whether it's my little mystery school I got coming for you guys, or if it's just this content. It's all a part of the Dark Wizard Dungeon collective. If you guys have a better hat for me to wear in relation to that, maybe like a Harry Potter or something, then go ahead and throw that through a P.O. box and we'll get that thing checked out. But for now, check out the board. There's good stuff we got to be talking about today. Usually, like, I don't know if this is a trend that we're going on, just talking about self-love, or this is just exclusively like because of what I'm going through right now. But hopefully this is kind of stuff that helps you guys for wherever you're going about. And, you know, hopefully it continues to allow you to contribute to what we got going on here and share this with the people that you think this could be applicable information to. Not really a lot to check out here. And honestly, like, I should probably include like graphics or something just like in here so it just doesn't seem so empty and skeleton, but the conversation that we're gonna have isn't full of too much, it's really direct. So hopefully that's something that you can appreciate, because I understand every single time you see me in a whiteboard in the same room, it's like an hour-long episode, and I apologize for doing that. But this is good stuff here. I promise you this is good stuff here. And also, before we get into it, check out the sweater. I literally just picked this up yesterday, so let me know what you're feeling about it. It's kind of cool, huh? All right, so I just picked this up yesterday. If you like it, leave a double like in the comment. Check me out on it, not playing. But other than that, check us out on Patreon. Check us out on Cosmic Nomads if you'd like to support the channel. And we'll get into this right now. All right. Rock with me. If you can see the title of today's episode, hopefully you brought your little basket or box or whatever of tissues, because it's gonna get a little emotional, but I apologize for doing that. You know, I can't control. I just wake up one day, I decide an episode's coming out, and then we decide to put it on the front street. So check us out right here. You can't hate yourself into self-love. Something in me believes that's a conversation that many of us don't have before we pursue a journey of self-love, or at least what social media or like the mainstream has told us what self-love is. But for many of us, I feel we get lost in the trap of performing self-love for the validation that may come on the back end of it, thinking that that's going to compensate for our inability to love ourselves, rather than going on the real scary journey, lonely for many of us, of self-love, to be able to be the first person to develop that authentic relationship with ourselves, and from there be able to develop more beyond that with other people, and not just people, but our environment, our community, our culture, be able to develop relationships extending from a foundation of self-love and acceptance. Because we aren't just one person in this life, we are whoever our circumstances and our environment is calling us to be. And many of us take on responsibilities in our lives that give us a long-term consistent identity, whether it's parenthood, whether it's debt, or it's some kind of economic obligation for the sake of being consistent in a growing body and not having to deal with the chaos that is constantly shedding the old you or what doesn't serve who you're trying to become. But for those of us who are constantly in that limbo, in that mercy of becoming and looking for a more applicable form of consistency, I'm offering you an opportunity to surrender yourself to the chaos. Not for the sake of just letting yourself go and not being a part of this life experience anymore, but surrender to the chaos in the sense that it knows where you want to go more so than you do. And you have to humble yourself in understanding it to see if you can work yourself in alignment with getting to where you want to go with the assistance of this already infinite energy that is moving you. It's almost like attempting to swim yourself out of a current rather than utilizing the current to help you tread the water towards where you're trying to go, or at least safety other than what you can see right now. A lot of what we're going to talk about on my page is not trying to fix and change all of your circumstances, but more so becoming aware of the circumstances that you have, because that's what you can't control. And if you can control those circumstances, then you give yourself an opportunity to change them. And then from changing them, you can make new decisions lead to new outcomes. So why would I start this with green juice and bird food? Well, forgive me, I may have transitioned too quickly into that. I'll give you a second to accept or to really let that intro dig in. I'll give you a second for that. I don't want to feel like this is me just blah, and then you trying to like kind of take it all in like a fire hose in your mouth. But I really want to make sure that we're reinforcing in these videos, and I apologize if you see me like looking all around all over the place. As an autistic person, I don't even like giving eye contact at all. So this is a 1.5 million steps beyond my comfort zone. But this is more of like a natural flow for me, being able to just dig all the way inside my brain and then feed directly to you guys. Hopefully you appreciate that before you judge me for it. But I really want to make sure that I'm honing, I think I'm using the right word, honing in on the point that attempting to fix yourself to get to this point that we are all trying to get to, which at the end of the day is self-acceptance in a dynamic body. If you're trying to fix yourself there, everything that you build up to fixing yourself into that perfect version that you think you're going to be, which is going to save you from all this struggle and suffering, it will constantly be broken down by the world around you, because you are supposed to be serving that world around you. And the fullness of who you are is directly related to your ability to fully integrate yourself and your servitude with the community or the culture outside of you that reciprocates energy and opportunities to you. And it's, again, another reason why it's so important for us to speak about this self-love coming from a place of acceptance rather than a place of hatred, is that you may, in pursuing self-acceptance out of self-hatred, you may break yourself down so much so into fully isolating yourself because you've picked out every single flaw that you have, but then in turn or consequentially, you're also picking out everybody else's flaws. And that either leads you to think that you're better than so many other people because they're not acknowledging their flaws, or it leads you to think that you're so much worse than them because you have so many more flaws than everybody else does or refuses to worry about. So do you see how just taking the wrong step at first leads us to a million more wrong steps when we can look back to our first step, rather than we can look back to our first step and then pivot into a different one, leading us to a whole new set of opportunities. But not acknowledging that it was the first step, the first 2 steps, the first 10 steps that we took that were in the wrong direction, not acknowledging that important part, the root of the issue, is going to lead us into exactly what a capitalist system like the one we live under wants, which is constantly digging your hands out into the world, seeking new forms of salvation, new forms of acceptance, new forms of validation, none of which will be enough to fulfill you, like you being able to wake up and look into the mirror and say, no matter what happens or what has happened to me, I am fully accepting of this version of me that I am, and I'm willing to give everything that I am to it every day that I live. Because if you were thinking like the latter I just gave, why would you keep buying new soaps? Why would you, okay, forgive me. That sounds crazy. I'm not saying not to wash yourself. You better be washing yourself, especially with the little scrubber. What I'm trying to say is, why would you keep on buying the newest, latest version of this thing that you already have 10 of? Why would you buy the newest, latest, hottest toothpaste every single time one comes out when the one that you've been using for the past 20 years still works? You know what I'm saying? Why would you keep buying, why would you buy this waist trainer for you when doing you're inconsistent with the actual workouts that you're wanting to do? Why would you buy this supplement to expand in the fitness realm? Why would you buy these like protein bars and like accessory supplements when your actual meals are not sustainable or like are not actually meeting par? You see how it's the second we don't get the foundation right, we're set up to fail so many more times that the people who are able to see us failing and seeking a solution or salvation can then throw us as many conditional solutions as they can, or that at least just get us by until that problem arises again for us. Capitalism does not, I don't want to say coincide with, there's a better word I could use, but capitalism does not align with allowing us to be able to be content in who we are, because we need to constantly be in a state of lacking to prove that we need to consume something to then complete ourselves. And then once we are depleted of whatever that validation or that energy was, we go do it again and again and again and again. And now our dopamine receptors, literally our genes, are being manipulated by the society that we live under for the sake of maximizing profit for people who are selling us products or shilling us products really that have no value to the greater meaning of our lives, only their pocketbook. Let's get into this first bit. I know I was supposed to, wait, hold on, let me check if this is the recording first and then we'll get into the first bit. But huge as I'm going into this episode, as I'm speaking about this, it's two different types of self-love we're talking about. It's self, and we'll talk about it at the end here, which is, again, why I made it its own section. Are we speaking about, I don't like something about myself, so I'm going to improve myself for the sake of getting to a place of acceptance? Or, dang, I do like myself, but I don't like my circumstances, and I would like to change something about my circumstances, myself, or my decision-making ability to change my environment, to allow me to accept myself more. See, it's where are we going to project the issue onto? Are we projecting it onto ourselves, saying that society is right, I am wrong, I am broken, I need to fix myself, so I'm going to hate myself until I get to a place where society accepts me? Or am I going to say, I am not expressing myself in alignment with who I feel like I am. I am living a double life. I am, damn, too many Hannah Montana references in here, huh? I am not fully feeling, I am not feeling fulfilled in this life because I'm living behind this mask that I'm supposed to be, but the person that I really am is not being fed, is not being allowed time to exist in the light, bro, and time to complement this experience that I have. So I'm going to change my circumstances. Again, it's not changing myself to get to a circumstance or get to a destination. It's I'm going to change something about the reality that I'm engaging myself with. So I, and this reality that I'm engaging with and all that's in it, can better be in relationship. Because at the end of the day, it's going to be the struggle between me and my reality constantly, my reality constantly trying to force me into the comfort of who I am and who I know myself to be, versus me and my inner desires and dreams continuing to plague me with this energy showing that I can be more than I am. But I have to dig into that, and I have to create that from a place that isn't really actualized yet. And it's just constant back and forth, and society wants you to feel like you can be content in not constantly pursuing that, but pursuing that for the sake of, this is the only life we have and this is the only time I'm going to get to be me, so I might as well figure out who all of this is, rather than, I hate myself so much, I hope somebody just accepts me at the end of this so I can stop improving myself. Because the second I do get the validation I want, or I get the girls that I want, or I get the money that I want, I get the acceptance that I want, am I done improving myself? See, again, that's why it's if I'm doing this for other people's acceptance, my journey ends the second they prove that they've accepted me. But if it's for my acceptance, then mind you, I have to wake up every single day and choose to accept myself. I have to wake up and confront every single opportunity and decide that in spite of what is being thrown in my face, I accept myself and I'm willing to do what it takes to actualize what I need to into this life. And that's responsibility. Crazy responsibility, bro, that a lot of people don't have. Did we even get into speaking about this freaking green juice and bird food, or am I tripping right now? Okay, let's get into speaking about this because I know it's not going to take too much time. The reason why I decided to call the first section green juice and bird food is because so much of self-improvement culture, and if you want to call it like self-improvement politics, philosophy, that's a better word to use. So much of that is in America, because that's where I'm from. It's rooted in who has access to self-sufficiency, and then allowing those people who do have access to self-sufficiency the ability to almost like golden shower on top of everybody who doesn't, but they forget that they are choosing out of accessibility and variety of options to live this uniquely niche, healthy life, this Huberman lifestyle. Nothing against Andrew Huberman, I'm cool with the dude. But they forget that the only reason why they're able to even actualize this life or consider themselves to be healthier than other people are because other people don't have the choice. Some people don't get to choose between a cold shower and a hot shower because they don't have enough money to pay for heating in their housing. Some people don't even have housing and can't even take a shower because they have to sleep outside. Imagine the difference between sleeping outside in 20-degree weather versus taking a 30-degree or 40-degree maybe cold shower, and then being able to choose when you leave that shower. Think about the people who are forced to shop at Dollar Tree because it's what they have access to, but the only food that's there, the only products that are there are the unhealthy processed products that are coming from these higher end stores that are giving, again, variety to the people who have access to choose. So genuinely, are you a healthy person because you're actually a healthy person and you're actually doing something that matters in relation to health? Or are you just able to influence another get healthy quick trend? That's why I call it, that's why I said bird food, because I know every single one of you guys knows the bird feed moms. If you watched Housewives of Orange County, you understand what I mean by bird feed moms. I'm out here plugging shows that shouldn't even be getting no promo. I apologize for that. And thank you, Housewives. You already made me forget exactly where I was going with this. But the main thing that's important to speak about when talking about the wealth privilege, because I was going to say white privilege, but then I realized it's more than that. It's literally just, under capitalism, race only goes so far. It's money at the end of the day. If you got money, you'll make it happen. If you have money, you'll make it happen. But to not get too lost in this section, it's people who have the privilege of having access to a reality where they aren't automatically dehumanized because they're poor, or because they're black, or because they're a woman. The cult of whatever you want to call it, of wealth, the cult of whiteness, the cult of American superiority, that protects them from the natural karma and suffering that happens in a human life. Because that's how most of us learn outside of like this traditional socialized civilization culture. We learn from waking up, involving ourselves in reality, and then reality responding to us, and then we responding back to it, developing a relationship with our reality. So I keep talking about that. But again, when you live on top of the line that is privileged to have access to, we genuinely don't know if you are healthier than these other people who don't have access because they don't have the ability to choose like you do. Because maybe they could, if they did choose, they would choose way more efficiently than you. And then that would further disprove the illusion of white supremacy, because it would show that the system that we're living under is systemically putting not only black and brown, but marginalized people as a whole in communities where they will not be able to be self-sufficient and be deprived of access to self-sufficiency for the sake of needing to depend on a government that will be shelled anyway and corrupted by wealthy people of the same country to make sure that nobody can depend on that government for welfare as well. While gaslighting people who are poor and ignorant in that same country to think that poor people who are depending on welfare are stealing more money from the economy than wealthy people who don't pay their taxes. And that's how we square a circle. And I made a TikTok video about this a minute ago, but it's just like, I don't care about your Huberman husband trends. I don't care about your biohacking and because something I realized as somebody who has existed, a poor person All-American, unemployed EDD All-American right here. I just want to let you know that most of what you're doing is like bastardized Eastern philosophical practices or like spiritual practices. They're stolen from the East. They're stolen from the East, stolen from Asia. They're stolen from Africa. They're corrupted from other like little pagan rituals and whatnot that Europeans used to have before they decided to go full on regalia on the Christian nationalism. But again, it's the privilege to exist on top of so many colonized groups and societies that you can just pick and choose whichever thing they did appeases your ability to feel or to be different, but in this case, better than other people. And then you promote it as if you just found something new. You know what that kind of reminds me of? It reminds me of oil billionaires and oligarchs in America, early America, the robber barons, the Rockefellers and the whatnot, saying, hey, let's destroy public transit so we can invest in and blow up our empires in this oil economy. And then not only 2 generations after that, the tech billionaires of this .com boom decide to say, how about we fix public transit by self-driving cars? Everybody has one. It's almost like public transit is self-driving community cars, but instead of self-driving car, somebody gets paid by the state to drive the car of people who live in that state to be able to do what they're supposed to do. And you're not depleting the energy of the entire power grid, promoting this sci-fi fantasy that has no potential of existing. But the only reason we give it any credibility is because the skin color looks like this and the pocketbook is deeper than... I don't have to explain any of that. People are getting scared already. But understand. That word privilege, especially when you pair it on the back end of white, makes a lot of people very insecure. But when we have these conversations, we're speaking about privilege to be able to do, privilege to have access, privilege to have the ability, privilege to... And the second we remove that, or the second we at least make it some kind of equitable foundation for it, are you really biohacking? Or are you just utilizing the profits that you've been able to accumulate from capitalism to escape capitalism under capitalism, but then not be able to effectively scale that to majority of people who desire to be healthy? Because the reason why you can even do something as ignorant as biohacking is because you're living on the more fortunate side of the stick, depriving other people of their ability to take care of themselves and be self-sufficient, so you can choose what trend you want to follow next. Okay? And again, I have no issue with Huberman. I have no issue with, actually I have an issue with anybody else I would have listed after that I have an issue with. But understand that we're not going to have any of these real spiritual or healing, if you want to call it, conversations if there is no sociological integration or like alignment with it. If there's no real world, this is what's happening to people systemically or sociologically, then there's no point in believing anything that you say, because you could purely be in psychosis. Before we get into the next part, which I think you guys might love, I really want to make sure that you don't lose that last part that I gave. If the spirituality cannot be connected to sociology, at least some kind of social politics in a way that actively affect all people, it is probably an in-group psychosis using everybody to serve the needs of the in-group. And then creating a fear of missing out by showing the consequences to the greater world if people don't escape the outlier of space to engage in that in-group. Let's get into it. Part 2. Okay. I probably even spelled this wrong, and I want to take this jacket off. I'm not gonna lie, I'm freaking burning in here, but I think it looks cool, and I think that you guys should see me wearing it, so you guys have to deal with it. Thank God for Miss Thickums. The Dark Wizard loves thick women. That's a fact. But this isn't about y'all necessarily right now. Actually, this is about y'all right now, but it's not necessarily specifically about y'all right now. This is about, maybe this conversation has a lot more to do with body positivity and the potential for where this could go as a conversation, and not only a conversation, but as a movement, a cultural movement that can give people an opportunity to not only engage with, but live a life on the other side of acceptance of self. So, a conclusion that I came to, and mind you, it's not just like a certain thing happens and then I get to a conclusion and then it's just like, oh, that makes sense. These are like so many experiences lined up with one another. And then when a very significant experience that answers a question for me happens, it hits a gong. And then every single experience like that just stacks up, lines up behind one another. And then the answer that I'm looking for just shows itself. Very weird way of looking at it. I apologize. But this came from my own, I want to say a little bit of my own inability to maintain a deep level of self-acceptance, especially in this social media era that we live under, but then also being so disappointed in the people that promote themselves as these lifestyle coaches, these spiritual coaches, these influencers, wellness, whatnot, and they're lying. Like it's, I understand that holistic living may be boring, just like going to the gym and journaling and meditating and respecting your boundaries and having goals that you actually progress on. I understand that may be boring in this world of 20v1s and people out here freaking live streaming, taking a poop and all that. But if you're somebody who thinks in the long term, you're somebody who thinks with some longevity, you'll understand the boring stuff, the monotonous stuff, that's the shit that actually sticks. When all these trends go away, when all the clout and the likes and the clicks and the views goes away, when it's just you and the life that you have created for yourself, especially on the other side of social media, we're going to be looking at the habits, the routines, the things that you stayed consistent on. We're going to be looking at the beliefs that you held. We're going to be looking at the what you even actualized as a consequence of being on the internet. And that's how we'll see who you are. I'll be genuinely honest, I don't even know how the fuck that related to anything that I'm saying right now, but we're going to get into really what I was trying to say. And that is, I guess, a question that inspired this whole entire part of the video, which was, are chubby people happier than skinny people? Or than socially fit people? And mind you, saying that like that may get me canceled, so I apologize for saying it like that. But the perspective isn't fat this. Let me just tell you what it is instead of just shooting myself further in the foot. One thing that I've realized is that social media culture makes people think, especially people who are traumatized or lacking already, it makes them think, hey, you hate your life. So if you just got fit and went to the gym and started taking care of yourself and started eating right and doing this stuff, then you'll get the things you want. Like it's almost like it's super transactional. Like, oh, you lack, so add this, and then you become that. Very transactional, very like difficult to understand and really dig into, especially if you're a complex person. So what I'm starting to see is you put yourself, and I don't know if I've explained this already, but social media puts you on this hamster wheel of not only externally seeking that validation, but constantly chasing that validation, whether it be through likes, views, shares, comments, DMs, follows. Like, you're constantly chasing so many different forms of validation, while at the same time just immensely chasing validation outside of yourself. And doing that, you end up not ever being in a position to like quiet the noise and go, what of this do I even like? Like, I understand the point of this journey was to accept myself, but now I've gone so far apart from accepting myself. Now I've created a standard that I have to uphold of myself to gain the validation of the people that I was seeking it from. So now maybe I'm going through a hard time at home in my relationships. Maybe I'm financially struggling. Maybe I'm going through some bullshit, but I've created this mask of damn near perfection now. And now I have to submit to that perfection rather than showing my community and my people that I'm influencing, hey, self-acceptance is about self-accepting through the highs and the lows, not just showcasing a bunch of highs and then lying about your lows while you go through them to hope that you can jump on the next high while you got to record some more videos. Social media tells us like, it's the attractive person, the this person, the very fit person, that they're the happiest. But then when those people show us and tell us, hey, I'm not actually happy, like I may have the things that you want, but I'm not happy, then us as a society of people who don't have those things, whether it's money, beauty, fame, we blame them for being ungrateful for what they have, rather than appreciating the fact that, hey, you can have all the things and have nothing at all still, because you don't have yourself. You don't have the knowing, you don't have the acceptance, you don't have the relationship with the self. So you may be there existing in a body, appreciating the consequences that come from your success or your being, but it's not you. Therefore, it's all unfulfilling and never enough. And that's why it put me in a position to really question this whole relationship weight situation and all the shame that comes with, especially women gaining weight. I believe that these like relationship weight people, this is a genuine sign of happiness. This is a genuine sign of love, self-love, not only self-love, but happiness in your experience. And this is why I say it, because when you're genuinely happy in relationship, you're not thinking about missing your macros on a meal plan. You're not thinking about, oh my goodness, I need to get 8 exact hours of sleep. I need to make sure that I'm doing my tribal chants in the cold shower. Like, it's so much easier to forget about those things, not only because you're investing in the relationship, but even better, it's because you're not so hypervigilant about all of your flaws. You're finally in a position to appreciate the things that people actually like about you. You're finally able to be aware of the things that you may not even like about yourself, because somebody else isn't putting you in that position to constantly uphold the infinite or the unreasonable expectation that is a social media identity or is this perfect version of you. They let you be all the versions of you that you are. And in that, you are naturally going to expand into who you are and the love of that. Another important part I want to bring about just relationship weight, mind you, is weight, like having weight used to be a sign of wealth. A couple hundred years ago, used to be a sign. If you were skinny, it meant that you couldn't afford to eat. You were starving. That's why you were skinny. Not because you were sexy or because you were attractive or because you were better than these people. You couldn't eat. But now we live in a time, and again, I don't want to make any like claims here because this is like some very touchy subjects, but now we live in a time where the people who have damn near colonized not only the attention economy, but have colonized the beauty culture and the beauty standard have impregnated the beauty standard with their perception of beauty, which in my eyes, now starting to understand these people being exposed for their crimes and whatnot, they're attracted to little boys. So anything in relation to looking like a little boy, skinny, frail, very like underfed, almost like Oliver Twist, everyone will shelve that a reflection of that little boy. And I know this it's gonna sound crazy, especially coming from me, especially coming from like somebody who doesn't really talk about those types of things. The whole entire modeling industry, like think about, there is a standard of perfection. And the craziest part about it is that the standard of perfection for even women, it isn't even a grown woman. Literally at best, it's a little boy or a little girl. And that's why, again, like I don't want you guys to be done with having these like FBI investigations with Diddy and Epstein and what's this other nigga? The Hilfiger dude. I need you guys to really dig into the whole entire modeling industry. I need you guys to dig into the whole entire creative arts and entertainment industry because it's just a back-end money cleaning tool for wealthy people to do their illicit activity. But if you want to hear more about that, go check out the Drake vs. UMG podcast that I made. Like, we're getting too lost here. I need to make sure that I'm digging back to the point. To get back to where we were going, that relationship weight is a sign, to me, of course. Relationship weight is a sign that you are being accepted for who you are. And you aren't being expected to be somebody or an illusion of somebody that you've presented yourself to be. And I know a lot of people, especially in the self-improvement space, in the men's self-improvement space, we sit here and we think about, oh, well, yeah, that girl used to be so hot and then she gained weight, or like that person used to be so buff and they gained weight, this is it. But are you not thinking about, hey, maybe those times when they were skinny, they hated themselves and they were only maintaining that figure or that body for the sake of hoping that somebody was going to accept them on the back end of that, to where they wouldn't have to constantly be hating themselves or so critical of themselves all the time. Like really, I'm telling you, bro, like really get that, especially if you've come up from, which is something we're going to discuss, if you've come up from a narcissistic family upbringing, or you're just an American, you live in a narcissistic society. I need you to understand how important it is you may be not understanding that, yes, you're seeking self-acceptance, but it's not like, or you believe yourself you're to be seeking self-acceptance, but it isn't coming from a position of, I want to know myself. And for whatever it is, grow into accepting that. It is, I don't like myself now, and I'm going to create a version of myself that I need to be to get the validation I need, and then I'm going to become that. Even if, forgive me, that is not who I'm supposed to be, or even in alignment with a healthy version of myself. And maybe the person that I'm so afraid of being, the person with a little bit of love handles hanging on the sides, the person with a little bit too much of something that I'm afraid of or ashamed of, maybe that's the version of myself that I genuinely would accept the most. And not only accept the most, but love so much, I'm not thinking about trying to fix myself into an identity. Because I'm just growing more aware of who it is that I am. So think about it, bro. Like really sit here and think, and it's so sad because a lot of people will sit here and take that as like, and maybe it's not a lot of people, because for me, I've just like had the horror of only growing up around narcissists. So it's just like, you were never being able to accept yourself. You're constantly fighting for that shit. And you're never gonna get it at the end of the day. But it's sad for me to see that people tell you that they want you to be okay. Like they don't want you to be depressed and all that. And they want you to be okay and they want you to be happy. But then the second you choose happiness that comes from actually being yourself, and I'm saying being yourself in a world that like, in a way that doesn't obstruct their ability to do or be anything, it just makes them insecure or invalidates this mask that they were able to profit off of or exploit from you. Then people start showing their true colors. And that shit is sad, bro. And it's things like that the self-love and acceptance journey is so difficult to even tell people to get on, because it's like, you may say that you want to be able to love yourself, but you don't understand that you have to sacrifice every single person who's around you. You don't understand you have to sacrifice all the environments that you've put yourself into, bro, or you continue to circulate yourself into, because you're waiting for the acceptance that now we are deciding that you're going to give yourself. It's very difficult, because the journey, especially if you don't come from love and appreciation and acceptance, you go from having everything to losing everything, to then not only losing everything, but if you decide you want things back, you have to work for everything. And it has to be in alignment with this new version of yourself that you've just built. And again, the reason why I bring that word responsibility up so much is because that's something that we have to take responsibility for. That's something that we have to take on our own plate. And a lot of people don't have the strength to do that, bro. And because of that, they'll continue existing in the loops that they're in. They'll continue chasing the validation. Because if you're constantly chasing the validation, you never have to sit in the light of deciding whether this is who you genuinely want to be. And that's difficult for a lot of people to accept. But yeah, we kind of got into that, huh? We're good on that. We're about to get into the last part right here. Let me see. 30 minutes left. We're about to get into the last part right here, and we'll wrap this thing up. So you guys should be chilling. But hopefully this is a conversation that you guys enjoy, man. Like, and again, I wanted to script these videos, and I realized, like, forget it, bro. This is damn near like a classroom. And when you tap into these videos, wherever you're watching them from, I got some of my freaking homies watching this from, just watching this on the counter. Gang, if you see me, rock with me. But I'm telling you, like, I got people watching these vlogs when they go to the gym, or listening to the podcast when they're driving the car. I want these to feel like conversations that it's not just me giving them to you and that's it. All I'm doing is giving you the groundwork, and now, hopefully by the end of these videos, whether it's vlogs or podcasts or streams, whatever it is, you have the foresight to start taking steps in this conversation, in this field, and contribute to this collective consciousness from your own unique angle and perspective. Because you have different gifts, you have different values, you have different skills that can contribute to this collective from an angle that none of us can. But in being able to find that, developing that relationship with yourself to find that, and to share yourself shamelessly enough with the world beyond yourself, then I can't give you that power. Truly, I never can give you that power. The only thing that I can do is give you the awareness that is, you need to take responsibility for this. And the second you do, it's all in your hands. Ain't nobody can tell you shit. So, let's get into this last part right here and continue to remind you, you're never gonna make it in this self-love without genuinely wanting to love yourself. And again, maybe also an important part to add would be, many people think that in the performance of self-love, we suppress all the parts of ourselves that we don't love, and then we overinflate all the parts of ourselves that we do love. But in the act of self-love and acceptance, we take the love that we've been cultivating with ourselves, and we share that love with the aspects of ourselves that we are ashamed of, by giving them time, giving them presence, giving them opportunity, giving them new affirmation, to understand that maybe this is just something that I believe because my inner critic keeps telling it to me. Maybe it's not something that I believe, and I need to live a new experience. I need to make new choices. I need to have new decisions to change that, to reinforce something new. Starting something new, feels so right to be in with you, and I'm looking in. All right, let's get into the last part of this, and then we'll wrap it up for today. Okay, final part of this video. Thank you for staying through the whole thing. I know I like to yap, but that's why you show up here. Best of both worlds. The reason why I say best of both worlds instead of just saying inner versus outer or this versus that is because you're never going to be apart from your darkness or apart from the negative reinforcement that is the outer world or other people's darkness. You're only ever going to be able to fully exist in the crosshairs of your inner and outer world that is your mind, body, soul being. And when I say inner world, I'm saying in a metaphysical sense, not like your internal organs. I'm speaking about like the inner universe, that thing, that infinity that you're connected to, basically like the sun of the inside world. And that feeds life to you in the form of ideas, beliefs, perspectives, opinions, dreams. And then you have your outer world that sustains your physical body. And the sun that sustains your physical body as well. So look at your body, like your literal material body, look at that as a medium in between two worlds, two infinities. And you meeting all of that at the center. In my eyes, of course, this is why I'll say that a lot until it becomes something that your eyes can see as well. Internal acceptance is purely inspiration-based. It doesn't call you, and this is why, again, when I'm giving advice or I'm giving information, I can only give 9 out of the 10 steps or 99 out of the 100 steps. Because I can tell you everything. I can coach you about everything leading all the way up to the point when you have to get in the batter's box and you have to swing the bat. I can tell you every single pitch that could be thrown. I can even tell you the pitch that can be thrown. I can put a tee on home plate. But I can't swing the bat for you. I can't decide that's a good ball to hit and swing it for you. And I hope that's the type of instruction and mentorship that we have as a collective moving forward. Giving the student the opportunity to be the master of their own circumstances, rather than literally just filling up a student with information and then giving them tests to take to see that they're a master. Like, no. Let them show themselves that they can really do this shit with the things that they have in their reality right now. And that's hopefully the teacher that I am for y'all. Internal acceptance is inspiration-based. And the reason why I say that is because nobody can, I don't know if I already said this like a minute ago, but nobody can become aware of your inner world for you. That is something that you either refuse to become aware of because your outer world is just so set and amazing that you don't have to go there. You're forced to go there by trauma, or you choose to go there because you're bored. And all of that is, again, the responsibility of the self. You can choose whether or not you do so, but at the end of the day, if you do choose to go within, if you do choose that internal acceptance, then it's a constant every single day. Every single decision that you make is in relation to, hey, I have the power to choose, but I also have to take responsibility for the consequences that come with how I'm choosing. What kind of model do we use for this internal acceptance in a world that wants us to be born out of self-rejection? We become aware of the world that is inside of us with the dreams, the desires, the visions. And from that, and I know I may have written this backwards, but from our awareness, we can alchemize what we are aware of. We can decide what we're going to take and integrate with our being right now to keep going on the journey, or to let go and to sacrifice back to the world so the world can continue to have that and serve what we just sacrificed to somebody else who actually needs it. From there, we accept who we are because that is what we're working with. We don't dream ourselves to be anything more than what we are because that stops us from working with what we have. From there, we actualize what we know ourselves to be, continuing to allow that little window to believe that we can keep being more than we are so we never get complacent in the things that we achieve. And we keep on going on cycles of that. Keep on, because life is a dynamic race that doesn't end until you actually perish. So why would you give up on a journey that will already take the wheel from you at some time you don't even know? Why would you give up before that time even happens? I guess a rhetorical question. Because you don't. The most important part of this internal acceptance is not the fact that you can just wake up and choose to accept yourself. It's the fact that it's unconditional. So even if you don't choose to accept yourself, it's still going to be there. You just have to become aware of it and then pursue the path of developing that relationship with whatever it is into acceptance. And if you're willing to choose that, but again, the power is always in your hands, no matter how overwhelming the outer responsibility or the outer expectations seem to be. That's why we start all of our journeys on my page. We start these journeys from within, expressing them outwards. Something amazing that David Goggins said, I don't know if it's like a motivational or something that I heard, but amazing thing that David Goggins was saying was, once you're forced in a position to where you have to rely on the things that are sitting inside your soul, you realize that you're just gonna go dig out from what's inside you, pause, and keep digging everything out from what's inside you and sharing it in the world until there's nothing left to share with the world. Super, super, super important. And even Will Smith's freaking DJ Jazzy Jeff or whatever his name is said that same exact thing. Said, if you're a creative artist, the point is to express all the art that is within you because you fundamentally can't do it as a creative being. It's who you are. That's how you, creative being, creative person, feed the world. And finally, we live in a reality where you can be compensated directly for that. But unconditional love for us when we choose to accept it within. Because it's always there. Again, the power to choose is in our hands. As much as our reality outside of us wants to make us feel like we don't have that kind of authority in our lives, the power to choose and the power to decide will always be in our hands. And if it is, then the ability to choose and to access happiness, or at least acceptance, will be in our hands as well. At least in our reach. Now, what's the opposite of this? What's the opposite of people who don't start from within, people who start rejecting from within, and from within they say, you know what, let me just go out. Let me go out and find what I'm looking for on the inside of me because apparently it's not there, or society has not reinforced within me that it is there. This is a very motivation, expectation-based form of self-acceptance because where it may appear as self-love and self-acceptance in the form of going to the gym 6 times a week, eating real healthy, sleeping good, cutting off toxic friends, where it may appear healthy performance-wise on the surface, the validation that you're chasing is not your own. The acceptance that you're going after is not your own. What you are seeking comes from or lives at the mercy of somebody else's ability to give it to you. And imagine if that person knows that you will not be content unless they accept you, and then they just decide to withhold that acceptance while exploiting more of what you're willing to do for it from you, and then they get to benefit off of your energy. Because you don't know that you could be spending that energy investing in yourself and your further actualization because you don't need anybody to accept you to do that. But instead of knowing that, you are now putting all of your energy to actualize into this other person so they can accept you. Because you've decided that they are more worthy of accepting you, even though they can only know so much of you, than you are, who already knows everything there is to know about you and still has the best opportunity to know anything more about you firsthand. Not even firsthand, first brain, nigga. Actually, I gotta stop cursing. They're gonna take my videos down if I don't stop cursing. I apologize for that. And that's where I'll say the mercy of, or leaving your acceptance at the mercy of other people's validation, it's mad conditional. In the sense that you're crafting multiple steps, intentionally multiple steps for other people to put them in a position to accept you in a way that you want to be accepted. But aren't you setting yourself up for disappointment? Because you're telling other people who don't know you or don't know you in as much as you want to accept yourself, you're setting them up to accept you in a way that you won't accept yourself. And then you're going to be disappointed when their validation does not fulfill you in the same ways that you thought. And then now you're starting to slowly break apart from the relationships that you have and the people that you genuinely care about because you've set them up to fail in front of you, bro. And again, mind you, like I said 2 minutes ago, they don't even have to give you the validation that you're seeking. And the second somebody of any malevolence realizes that you are chasing and clinging on to them for the validation they're giving you more so than their ability to reciprocate the energy in that relationship, that's when you start becoming exploited. That's when you start setting yourself aside for the priority of other people. And you start rejecting the awareness that you can take care of and you can be there for yourself. And again, this all ties into, make sure we still got time here. Oh, perfect. And one important quote that I guess I'll finish this off with, that I made is an original quote. I made it. And I may have already said it, so forgive me if I have, but short-term memory. A true self-acceptance journey forces you to choose between the comfort of what you know that you are and the chaos of what you believe you can be, in spite of all fear and doubt. How crazy is that? And the reason why I say that is to be that way is because you know yourself. Maybe I might have to add a new. We're gonna do something way different here. We never done this before. You and your self-acceptance journey will more than likely look delusional because, and we discussed this, I'm almost 100% sure we discussed this in the last YouTube video. This is the 100% of who you are. The world only gets to know this inner you based on you not only consenting the world into accessing that, but you being able to dig right into that inner sun that I was talking about. And then from that journey, bringing that to yourself, whether it's a gift, it's an art, it's a product, it's a project, and then sharing that from yourself with the world. Because the world does not get to access your inner sun or the gifts that come from your inner flame unless you go into yourself to do so. And mind you, even if somebody like physically enters your body, they cannot access this. Now that right there will change every conversation that we've ever had about purity culture and sex and sexuality as it relates to sanctity of the human body. Because it shows that the gift is the soul, it's the energetic thing. And it can only be accessed through awareness of the body, not exploiting the body. So you can go all, you can do a full, the world can do a full surgery on a human body to death and bring it right back to life, and it'll still never have access to the soul, because the access to the soul is rooted in the awareness of the being. So this is why I say it's almost stupid to externally start seeking for self-acceptance rather than starting from within and then sharing everything within outside of you until you get to the reality that you're trying to create. Because the world, again, only knows you on the surface and what it wants to know you as beyond that, which is probably nothing, really not that much more than your surface. Maybe what your private parts look like. Literally it. The world does not care about this thing inside of you called a soul. And mind you, I'm saying the world as a whole, so you don't just automatically sell yourself off of that for the sake of thinking that they're going to compensate you in alignment with the value you're giving it. Not right at all. What is right, though? You becoming the first person to decide, hey, what's in me is valuable. That energy, that energetic gift that I'm holding on to through my awareness, not my actual physical body, I cultivate that. And in you taking responsibility for cultivating that, you get to fill up this whole entire inner world with value and unique value, because you're not choosing this soul. You have damn near been enslaved to this soul and at the mercy of understanding it and its infinity, and then not only comprehending it for yourself, but then sharing that with a world who doesn't speak the language of your soul. The world can only know as much of you as you are willing to share with them. And I'm not going to stop saying this. It doesn't matter how deep somebody physically goes into your body. They cannot corrupt the soul through the physical. The soul can only be consented to entry through awareness. This is why it's so important to not only keep people ignorant, but to keep people stupid and to keep people devaluing the value of the mind and the psychological aspect of our nature. Because the mind is what the mind is the tool that your body uses to dig into the infinity that is your soul. Hopefully that's good enough for you guys, because I'm about to get kicked out of here in a minute. But I'm excited. I think this was a good video. It's starting to look like an eyeball now. I'm thinking about it. It's starting to look like a little eyeball. Ugh. Kind of weird now. All right, but hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. If you stayed here all the way to the end, thank you so much for being here. You want to like, comment, subscribe, check out Patreon, Cosmic Nomads, anything you want to do, because I don't know what kind of cool thing to say that's going to get you to just do those things and also keep my cool, because I was going to say some mad corny shit right there. But other than that, thank you so much for being here and taking time out of your day to participate in this community that we're building. And hopefully you can love yourself a little bit more on the back end of watching this video, because we aren't pursuing the validation of a world that already hates many of us for just being who we are. We're pursuing acceptance of the self coming from within and appreciating the validation that we get for pursuing that path outside of us, while also being able to appreciate the criticism that may come that cares about us living to the fullness of our potential. Not just criticism that wants us to hate ourselves because we're accepting ourselves in the ways that the world won't. If you're on my tribe, if you're one of my people, bro, you're ready, you're set. You're gonna be mad lit, bro. 2025 going onward is our year, and I'm just saying that for me. If you're in my community, it's also gonna be our year too. But if you aren't, and you're still waiting to kind of dig into this path to really pursue this, whenever you decide to go on this path, it can be more than self-acceptance. It can be dream chasing, transforming your life, saving yourself. The second you decide to go on that path, never turn back. The second you decide to go on that path, never turn back. and only be a consequence of succeeding or failing on that path. But never stop until you reach the finish line. Thank you for being here. You deserve all the love and acceptance you could ever wish for in this world, but make sure that you're not wishing for it so much so that you're not able to give it to yourself. Stay lit, stay rebellious, stay horny. Let's rock out.